welcome to the SmackDown review. I'm Adam Wilbourn from WhatCulture, joined by Michael Hamflett from WhatCulture, here to review everything on this week's episode of Friday Night SmackDown. But before we get into it, if you're a fan of this sort of thing, make sure you subscribe to WhatCulture Wrestling on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, and YouTube. We do daily wrestling podcasts where we not only review SmackDown, but also Monday Night Raw, the show formerly known as NXT 2.0. AEW Dynamite, AEW Collision, pay-per-views, premium live events. We have interviews, roundtable discussions, and a round of the week complete with a bloody good quiz, of course, on WrestleCulture. As I said, though, joined by Michael Hamflett to review this week's episode of Friday Night SmackDown. And in quite the rarity for the SmackDown review, I sense this is a show we are not going to agree on.
I sense we're not saluting the same segments. Well, I know this because there's a somewhat of a deep dive into the main event segment of the show on our Raw preview, which you can get wherever you get your podcasts. Now again on Spotify. Sorry about that. And
Not our fault.
Not our fault one bit, no. Apologising on behalf of, I don't know, the internet. And I will regurgitate some of that for this one. It's a lot there, but I am more interested because you very, very politely let me and Sidge pontificate about this. Debate and discuss the CM Punk John Cena segment.
It's interesting to get Sidge's thoughts. That is genuinely worth checking out.
Thanks so much, mate. While obviously letting us know what you thought, but then not going into any more detail on that. So I feel like...
And do you know what? I've watched it again this morning.
Okay.
Just to...
Well, we'll get to it, and then we'll sort of flip a bit, and I would rather you take the floor first.
Okay.
Because I would like to hear your thoughts long form, because we haven't discussed certain guests today.
A great deal of thoughts. I just really liked it, but yes.
That's
in fact, overall, 3-hour SmackDowns.
Hey. You all right?
I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm quite enjoying Blue Raw. Second week in a row. It's
Blue
not
Monday Night Raw.
That's good stuff. That is good. There is a new order to these SmackDowns. Although there is still somewhat of a joy division because half of it was crap. Eventful again.
Yes.
2 weeks in a row where there's lots going on. It's not necessarily a compliment, but it was definitely the biggest problem, was the sense that nothing happens here. We get together for 3 hours on a Friday and nothing occurs.
Oh, good. It's nothing against them, but it's Selena Vega versus the Secret Herbies again.
They've absolutely moved away from that.
Yes.
And it's a little bit... There's a number of areas here in which I kind of think they're taking shortcuts and cheating a bit, but I will take it. Take it right now, because on a Friday in particular, or on a Saturday when I tend to watch this, Sidge made a point about the weekend wrestling Twitter fans have been worse to him with criticism of SmackDown than the weekday ones would be to Raw. And I wonder if I can not empathize with those trolls, but I can kind of relate to their anger, because I have definitely found myself more wound up that some of the weekend is being spent either watching and feeling like my time's been wasted, or they're not really having anything to sink my teeth into with it, you know? Whereas in the middle of the week, even if Raw was a stinker, it's the middle of the week, you got things going on, you got whatever. SmackDown was feeling more egregious in its wasting of your time as a viewer, and the last few weeks they have definitely pulled that back a little bit.
I don't know whether either as well it's been affected by the fact I can again see light at the end of the tunnel. Mid-August, I think.
They've done this
rumor
before.
At least.
Yeah.
But I watched this Saturday night, so I'd seen your tweet. It had been pushed to me by the people at X or whatever. So I went in with different expectations, because I think I'd seen yours and I don't know, maybe some others.
I was very unhappy with it.
And I watched SmackDown on Saturday, and sometimes, maybe this is the case, maybe I'm just wrong here. Is it right that if I watch it on Sunday, sometimes they've edited out the ad breaks bits?
Oh, yeah, maybe.
Because sometimes I load it up and it's 2 hours and 20 minutes on Netflix. And sometimes it's like this week, 3 hours. And I was like, here we go then. And it flew by for me, this. So I don't know whether that was the case either.
But again, I wouldn't say that I was critical of all of this show. Mm-hmm. It was definitely some things I really, really liked. But but the stuff I didn't like. I would say there were 2 specific shots, if you were to take still images on this SmackDown, of the decline of WWE 2025. Like, genuinely, there were 2 still images that I could take away from the show that I will remember, those little flashpoints that come to you, where I was just sort of, depressed isn't the word, but I do care. Like, it's my escapism, but I do care about its quality, and I don't relish talking about this decline. I don't, like, there's a few times this year where I've been critical of WWE, and I'd like to think it's in a measured way, even if my criticism is extreme. And I know, like, when you're criticizing people on, like, or criticizing things on Twitter, or maybe even on a podcast setting, like, you can be prone to, like, hysteria or hyperbole or things like that. That's just natural. You get yourself het up and stuff like that. And I love it, and I'll care about it, you know? But there's been a few times this year where I'll be critical of something because it's just, I feel it in my bones. I feel like either it's an anger, but worse, it's often a disappointment. There's a parental pride lost in my lovely sweet Fed and all those great years maybe coming to their end. And I get bollocked by people. And this is not to shout out somebody that uses phraseology particularly, because we had a perfectly nice faith conversation about it. But it was just like a few times this year, I was like, oh, another L, you know, like take another L, take another L. The first time this happened was when I said it after the Netflix Raw, and I don't think I've been proved wrong. And then there was a couple of points in the WrestleMania build, and Triple Threat's photos notwithstanding, I don't think I was proved wrong there either, and I don't think I will be here either. Like, I don't want this to be rubbish. I am a generous marker with WWE anyway, and I acknowledge that about myself, but that is because I go in, right, opposite of arms folded. Like, 30...
With arms wide open.
Arms wide open. What are we in now? 2025. Can that be right? Yeah. 35 years and counting. Every week, there's a little bit of me that goes in, like, the first show I'm ever watching. No way! World Wrestling Entertainment, where have you been all my day? Like, that's me, 35 years and counting. So I acknowledge how this thing is preset for me to enjoy, and then it has to work against that to leave me feeling like cold on it or disappointed. But I enjoy critical analysis in general, so then that's when I think, well, right, here's why this thing didn't work, but here's why, like, that matters, or why it doesn't matter, or yeah, that was rubbish, but so what will be? We'll get them next time, whatever, you know. The bad here that we'll get to, yeah, symptomatic of a decline.
See, I think I'm beginning to disagree more and more with this take from you two. I think the death of WWE, or the major decline of WWE, is being greatly exaggerated. It has not been as good as 2023, 2024. I absolutely agree with you on that. But I saw stuff on this show, and I've seen stuff in recent weeks, particularly on Raw, obviously. And I see I'm looking forward to the rest of 2025 with real excitement.
I do know what you mean.
I could list quite a few things, a bit like I could in 2023 and 20. I can't wait to get to when this happens, when Cody finishes his story, and where do we go from there? And these people, you know, I don't know. Like, maybe it's because I'm just so high on, like, Seth Rollins. I've jumped off the Bloodline bandwagon, what's left of it. Not jumped off it, by the way. Still a huge fan of it. Still think it's still going, by the way, because Jacob Fatu is the best.
Yeah.
And Roman's coming back. He is coming back, right? But I've switched from that to now I really like this. We need a name for it. They need to give us a name, because I'm trying to write in my notes going, Seth's faction?
It felt like they were heading towards the Vision, didn't it?
Yeah.
And I don't know if they've pulled back from that.
I think it's amazing. I think there's so much excitement around, not just like, okay, well, we haven't even got to the cash-in yet, and when he's world champion and people charging for that, and all the stuff going on in the background, and then I get more excited because I read stuff about Ricky Saints potentially joining. I'm optimistic. Shock horror, I'm optimistic.
Do you know what? I feel like this is the time to have this chat, because I feel like across this review, there are certain things that play out as they do, and then there's, like, not much to talk about other than here's what actually happened this week and where's it going to take us the next week. I don't disagree with that sentiment. And Raw especially, I've said this since WrestleMania, I've really, really liked how they've shook the board up on Raw. Really liked it. You've seen, like, new roles created for wrestlers slotting into those spots. The proper, right, WrestleMania happens here. The roster, some of them similar as the ones that we had before WrestleMania, doesn't feel the same.
No.
like a bunch of people in different spots, and the ones that have stayed in their pre-existing spots were in a good place to begin with. Penta's probably a good example. He was doing just fine as he was, so he's pretty much where he was before WrestleMania. But yeah, to look at a Seth Rollins, a Bron Breakker, and a Bronson Reed as an obvious example, but then to look at the constant movement within the Judgment Day, the women's division.
I even liked a disqualification on this show.
Well, right, we'll get to that. Like, yeah, Raw in general, like a lot of positives, a lot of praise, and because the rosters are increasingly overlapping, it's clearly helping SmackDown too. Like,
Scratch that. I liked both disqualifications on this show.
I did really, really not like one of them. Could tolerate the other one, but 2 back-to-back is a bit of an unforgivable sin in my mind.
I like them for 2 very different reasons.
I think my issue is what I like so much about Triple H the Booker is often, and like Sid will say this, like you're handing somebody like the biggest weapon against him, is he is, like his matches were, sometimes methodical to a fault. But I am far more patient of methodical booking than methodical wrestling. Right? I was bored to tears by his matches just like everybody else. But I quite like that strategy in booking because I think his way of telling stories is engineered to make you fantasy book and then give you the gratifying outcome of the thing that you've thought about. He's not as good as you thought this was going to happen. Well, what I've got is even better. That was Tony Khan at his peak. He was very good at that, right? Triple H, that's not Triple H's strongest suit. He's got one in him once in a while. He does. But for the most part, if he's shown you for weeks and weeks and weeks some things that are going to happen, then guess what, buddy? Those things are going to happen. But the gratification and the anticipation of the thing is valuable.
Yeah.
That's
television, yeah. It's a redemption arc or whatever it may be.
The sort of the foreshadowing of the events, like, make you then like feel like you're manifesting or feel like you have a hand in it. That's helped the creation of so many like beloved baby faces in this era.
Yes.
Because from quite a long time out, the baby faces have laid out their stakes and laid out their claims, and then gradually, even if it's with setbacks along the way, like a small case would be, say, for example, Jey Uso finally hits the height of winning the Intercontinental title but then loses it quickly. Like the get-backs continue to be better than the setbacks for the baby faces, to use a punkism. The ultimate gamble of that being the Cody Rhodes one, paying off, like built, and in me, like, and other fans, builds in so much credit in the bank because, my God, that's like a creative gamble for the ages to not strap up Cody Rhodes at 39 and to do it at 40 and to keep him as hot as he did. Like, enormous years-long credit. He's probably, off me, again, a generous marker, he's probably bought himself like 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Genuinely. Yeah. And I think that's how wrestling booking works. Like that, personally for me, I'm not sort of a, like, hump 'em and dump 'em kind of thing with wrestling bookers. I'll be like, no, you know what? That was so good and so meaningful and so rewarding from the start of the journey to the falling short to the winning in the end, that I will then take a bunch of miniature versions of that. I will take a few stumbles and I will take a few misfires and I will be like, no, it's not just, it's still good. It's like, it's still good. Yeah. But I think the problem is it is just good. And the failings that I'm seeing are this like kind of, this type of chaos that Triple H doesn't work well in. And I'm not alleviating the blame. I'm not saying that the John Cena one is the best example. And I know I'm jumping ahead, but to ignore what happens on this specific SmackDown, the John Cena problem is that it will always feel like something imposed upon him. And you can never truly, as somebody that watches it for both what's on screen and what's happening behind the scenes, and that's most of us now, I can never shake the idea that because the start of this was imposed upon Triple H, he's never, with all his heart, put his back and his big old nose into it as deeply as he would do something he's at the genesis of.
See, I've disliked the Cena heel turn, but if he loses the title this weekend, I think I might look back and be like, it's all right. Great start, great end. So,
which, you know, like, we can. It's easy to do that, I guess, isn't it, when you don't know how this is going to end. And it's hard to, the story is not over. And we say this, you know, we analyze things weekly when they're all part of bigger stories, and who will one day, when all this is said and done, and in a year's time, we could look back and be like, right, what did John Cena, who did he hurt and who did he help? That might be an interesting thing to look at, like, at the end of the run. Like, right now, he's hurt Cody Rhodes and he's hurting CM Punk. And for my money, he's hurting Triple H and helped Travis Scott a bit. Like, I don't...
I think it's the best thing John Cena's done since the heel turn itself on this show.
Which, again, I think there's something to dig into there. But it is most representative of a thing that I think has existed through a lot of 2025, which is just this feeling that every now and then something being imposed or something being a required pivot or a required shaking up of things, just Triple H as an overseer does not do well with. And you can tell what he has passion for and what he loves getting in the weeds of. And you can tell the stuff that he's like, oh, I've got to do that now. And sometimes that's awful because sometimes that's like, I don't know, entire tag divisions. That's really not ideal, right? But sometimes that's how these tag divisions play out. And you like, it's like this artless, formless, I've got 15 minutes, tag four-way. Like, and then they're all in a foo head. And then a brainwave comes, he's like, but if we build it to a TLC, that's going to be pretty hot, right? And then sure enough, what happens? The TLC payoff to it all is actually pretty great. The ones that are imposed upon him are the worst cases of it because the idea, I think, then comes back to Triple H, the egotist. And then it becomes this like challenge of his authority and his power. And it's something he doesn't like. He will permit Chicago Raw 2024, Drew and Seth and Punk are out there and they're flying by the seat of the pants and they're all just saying stuff. But they're massive stars. And what they can do, if nothing else, is all hold on to the bigger story which Triple H wants to tell, which is this three-way rivalry between the three that when CM Punk's arms bet how they're all going to... Triple H sees that and thinks, well, they're killing each other out there, but at least it's in service of my grand design. So I'm going to let them go and they'll all know where to stop and they'll all know where the line is. And if they're not, I'll have to have a quiet word and I'll be like, Punk, don't put Drew in that position again where you mentioned Vince. He can't do anything with that. Like... but you can keep banging your head against the mic when Seth's music hits because they're memeing that online and that's good fun. Drew, you want to go a little bit harder on Punk? Because he did on you tonight, so remember this for next time. 2-foot in one. You know, like, he'll see that and he'll be like, because that's fine, because his bigger story is Drew Punk Seth. He's visualizing SummerSlam, he's visualizing the Survivor Series and so on. When it's not, I feel like it's becoming increasingly transparent. There is an enormous example on this SmackDown. We previewed it. I said as much on the preview. I said, I have a strong feeling where I know where this is going. It's true, Cena, where it's like, Triple H pissed off. The thing has happened.
I disagree on that one.
I think that's I love you.
We'll get into
what
it.
are we doing?
Well, let's get into the show because we're getting ahead of ourselves
Sorry.
here. Let me talk to you. LA Knight comes out and he talks about Money in the Bank where Seth Rollins and his gang screwed him over. So he paid it back by costing Bron, of course. And then they took him out last week in the King of the Ring qualifier. So he took out Bronson Reed. And he says, there's only one way this ends. Seth Rollins, get your ass out here. Seth Rollins doesn't come out. Instead, it's little Paul Heyman who does his usual introduction, slags off the crowd for screwing up the queue for Seth Rollins. Does it again, obviously gets loads of boos. And Knight tells Heyman to shut up, get to the point. Heyman cautiously enters the ring and says, look, there's a lot of bad blood between you and Seth. But with all due respect to this Grand Rapids crowd, he is the biggest LA Knight fan in all of WWE. And as a result, Seth Rollins has allowed him to let him know you need to get the hell out of here because something bad's going to happen to you by the end of the night. And Knight's like, yeah, I've heard you say all this sort of thing before. You're a swindler. You're a leech. You leech on the hot property and leech off their popularity. And if Seth Rollins isn't here, then I guess what we're going to do is LA Knight versus Paul Heyman right now. In fact, you know what? I'm going to let you get the first shot in. I'm going to turn my back. Make it a good one because I'm going to kick your ass, basically. And Heyman obviously bails at that point and says, look, this isn't a prediction. This is a spoiler. And out comes Bron Breakker and Bronson Reed. And yeah, numbers game catches up. He fights well, but numbers game catches up to him. They beat him down. But as they're setting up the announce table to kill him, basically, he's grabbed a chair and he fights them off. And Heyman advises it's probably best to head off at that point. And immediately after that, I'll just mention it now so we're not messing about. He's in the back with Bron and Bronson, who are, Bron's particularly furious. Byron Saxton shows up from Bron. Yeah, I love it.
His dog.
But he's calmed down, and it's been announced that the SmackDown GM, can't remember what his name is, has booked Bronson Reed versus LA Knight later on. And Heyman says, patience isn't a virtue, it's a strategy.
Good TV booking this. Good, solid like construction of a match for later on if you're going to do impromptu stuff, and nice servicing of this nascent little LA Knight, Seth Ryder's crew story. Very, very Triple H. They're right. I want to sort of praise him and criticize him where I feel is fair. Money in the Bank, LA Knight's whole deal is this time, right? Yeah, third time's a charm. And who wins? It's Seth Rollins instead. And who was the last guy that got... We put this over at the time, did we not? The last guy to get the only really credible hope spot to stop Seth was the right guy in LA Knight, and he has that one last run at it, and like that. And you were meant to be passionately invested in that. Why? Because it's about to service everything else that's going to play out. And yes, LA Knight might be more of a sacrificial lamb babyface to this group, but you've got to get this group over by putting them over lots of baby faces. And LA Knight never looks like a sacrificial lamb in the spot. He never looks like a guy going out there to be beaten. He sometimes pulls the face of a man that reveals that he's getting beaten, but he never carries himself like just a loser, like a lamb to the slaughter. He talks the good game as if nothing's happened the week before. So he's kind of ideal in that spot. And to LA Knight's immense credit, there has been times where he's been in stories like this in the past, and he's just gotten so over again as a babyface that he comes out of it stronger than he did.
Well, we've been saying, you can just turn him heel. Oh, no, not yet.
Apparently not, yeah. Like, he could now find himself a couple of allies down the line, do some six-mans with these guys, lose the feud. Like, he will lose the feud to the Seth Rollins group, but then be like, you know what? Like, I've actually got my vigor back and I've got my groove back off of the back of this. And I think I want to get like back in the title picture, and starts calling the shot a bit more.
Could be the first title challenger for a post-cash-in Seth Rollins.
Yeah, absolutely. Like there's worse spots to be in than the one LA Knight has found himself in. And I really like that this is the thing about the WWE that I still want to fight for, that they acknowledge that enough going into and coming out of Money in the Bank. It's tidy stuff, this.
We got our first Queen of the Ring semi-final, second one on Raw tonight. Check out the Raw preview for our prediction for that one. It was Alexa Bliss versus Asuka. Early on, Asuka hits a hip attack to knock Bliss out of the ring, takes to a break. When we come back, Bliss is in trouble, but she fights back, hits a flip neck breaker and a senton for two. Asuka comes back with some strikes, a snap German suplex, and a big knee to the face of Alexa Bliss. That only gets a 2 count. Bliss dodges a big kick from Asuka, gets a roll up, tries to resist her Abigail. She gets rolled up, though. Just 2 counts, of course. Bliss is still recovering. Asuka goes up top for a missile drop kick, but Bliss blocks it and hits that signature DDT of hers for a nice near fall. And she goes up top. Asuka's in position for Twisted Bliss. And then at the last second, Bliss thinks, no. Goes back down. The hesitation there has cost her, and Asuka takes advantage, puts her in an armbar, who desperately goes to the ropes. There's a running attack from Asuka following this that Bliss intercepts and puts her in a tree of woe position for a drop kick. Goes up top and goes for Twisted Bliss again, but this time, as she comes off, her worries were founded because she lands right on Asuka's knees, and Asuka hits that Empress Impact knee for the 1, 2, 3. She's in the Queen of the Ring final.
It's funny how, like, you recap that, and I didn't at any point question your take on that move thing playing out. I thought it was a pretty big botch.
I didn't read it like that.
And I wonder, and I'd be keen to see sort of how other people took this. A pretty big botch, or like this odd moment where a wrestler remembers a little chapter of the match that they've still got to do and had to make a choice.
Okay.
Cut that out completely, which could be perceived as really unprofessional, like, or expose themselves a bit and go back into the ring, do the stuff, do the arm work they did, and then go back and just pick up where you left off. That's how I took that, and I was like, oh, that's not awkward, because if you look at it, ultimately the work she did served no purpose, did it? And Asuka counted anyway. Like, if she counters off, it would have made more sense if Asuka had counted off that first one when Alexa's like, I don't think she's ready, but I'll go for it anyway. Than it did, right now I've definitely left her for dead, and she's done, I'll go for it now. And I would assume that was how you were going to recap it, and you didn't. But then we were invited to, I guess, receive it either way. It's not like on WWE they're going to be like, "Oh, that's a screw up." Like I've got 3 more moves in my notes here. Like you'll never know. I guess it might come out, but like, the way that played out, I took it to mean it's that WWE training thing sometimes where it's like some of them are not the best, almost confident improvisers, or they would rather face the heat for doing what they were told than face it for not. And I get both sides of that as well. And that's how I thought that was. Like a fine match before then, by the way. Alexa Bliss, for the most part, that notwithstanding, just feels back pretty much. Asuka, blimey, for like an injury layoff as long as it was in. It's like she's never been away. Had 2 decent performances from Asuka last week. So feels credible in the spot as, you know, like Queen of the Ring finalist, however far it goes. Yeah, I thought that was a botch, and I thought it was like another...
Yeah, I thought it was her thinking, no, you're going to get me here.
Yeah.
I don't think you're really as injured as you pretend. You're playing possum.
But then...
Or maybe she's too far across the ring. That was the only 2 takes I had on this.
Yeah, I just thought it was this like moment of absent-mindedness of, there's more to do. I'll go and do the stuff that I was supposed to do and then go. But could be either, definitely. I will concede that. But in that moment, I was just thinking like, oh, crikey. Like... them white are 6s.
Games.
Yeah. Now they're getting the tag title shot this week, aren't they?
Yeah. Oh, stacked. Because we should call it Friday Night Shelves, if anything, because it's stacked on. What are we going to have to do? We're going to have to do a combined SmackDown and Night of Champions preview, because there's so many title matches across both shows.
Yeah, we'll fold it into our Night of Champions preview. Yeah, that's going to be the easiest way, isn't it?
Backstage, Jade Cargill, B5 and Michin have been watching the match, and they B5 and Michin, say that maybe it's time for them to go after the tag titles. They head off to chat to the SmackDown GM, can't remember his name is. Byron Saxton shows up for a slightly nicer interview this time with Jade Cargill. Talks about facing Roxanne Perez tonight on Monday Night Raw, of course. And Jade puts her over. Fast, scrappy, but she's still trying to prove herself. This isn't a proving ground. It's a throne room, and Jade was built for royalty. When it comes to Asuka, that's a storm on the horizon. Jade Cargill, though, Byron, is the storm. This tournament wasn't built for the future. It was built for a woman who could walk through the fire, shatter glass ceilings, and fix her crown on the way to the top. And she's walking into this Queen of the Ring tournament, not just to win, but to reign. Go on, Jade!
She's talking a good game, isn't she? Like they do. It is hard to look past her winning the whole thing, and it's interesting that in 24 hours she might not even be in it, I suppose.
Yeah.
But it feels like I'm not just looking past Roxanne Perez, I'm looking past Asuka.
She was my pick the moment the graphics dropped. I was like, it's Jade's.
Like to SummerSlam for the title match.
Especially with Naomi is money in the bank.
Yeah, whether it's injury recovery, a bit of a break, and she'd have well-deserved one as well, but Bianca Belair's absence has kind of helped Jade Cargill's kind of like reascension as a singles wrestler, because there's been no need to yet revisit, like, are they all right? Like, are Bianca and Jade all right? Because I sense they're not, but that can be something that's to be a bridge that we cross down the road, sort of thing. Yeah, I got a buzz off this. I've said it on the Raw preview, like, I'm really rooting for Jade Cargill and Roxanne Perez. I cannot wait to watch it. Like, I desperately don't want it to be this, like, accidental stinker, because I feel like the momentum's back with Jade Cargill again.
And Roxanne.
Well, yeah, she's in a great spot, but I kind of have... If this match on Raw is rubbish, I don't think Roxanne Perez is in any trouble going forward. But if Jade Cargill has a bad night, for a number of different reasons, it sort of hangs heavy with people, I think. So we'll see.
Alexa Bliss runs into Chelsea Green and the rest of the Secret Service and pokes fun at Alexa for losing the semi-final. Alexa says, how's your broken nose? Chelsea says she should have been Queen of the Ring. Should have been building her parliament by now. Charlotte Flair turns up and says, well, maybe if your replacement tapped out a bit quicker, I'd have become Queen of the Ring. And Charlotte challenges Chelsea to a match and plans on making her tap out tonight. Alexa was like, I don't need your help. Charlotte was like, I wasn't there to help you in the first place. Really intriguing, these developments with Alexa and Charlotte throughout this show.
The Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss stuff I do have an interest in, because I feel as though if WWE have spotted that maybe we're thinking they're going to end up as a tag team.
Ever since
Just
I
a
heard the
straight up
whole
team.
Evolution rip it all up because of Liv Morgan's unfortunate injury, anything's up for grabs now. Yeah, and I could see a tag team, at least temporarily, for these two.
Well, I was going to say, but beyond Evolution, is this sort of a bit of a, not quite subtraction by addition, but the idea of taking them out of the singles ranks and maybe getting the best of them both as tag wrestlers rather than...
Only way Charlotte Flair will ever be cheered as a babyface right now.
Well, and more on that later on, because I didn't really think about it. Maybe I would have made this match myself, but I didn't really think about the potential ramifications until they were in the ring. But fairly quickly, as Chelsea Green and Charlotte Flair was taking place, I was like, oh, this was disastrous matchmaking. Like, this was...
I thought the roles were just reversed into what people maybe had thought they were going to be. Chelsea's a babyface and Charlotte's a heel.
Yeah.
You know,
But the match played out with the total opposite dynamics, and it was like, oh yeah, I wouldn't have thought anything of that. I would have also thought, oh yeah, stick them together. And they're actually like, oh no, they're the worst people to be together. What are you doing to it? Like sort of this audience here? But yeah, the Alexa Bliss and Charlotte Flair thing, yeah, I'm still into it.
And it's not just an immediate. Well, we'll see later.
Yeah, which I like. They're working towards the synergy. It's not just an instant thing.
We go to the ring, and yes, boy! There's Kit Wilson. Unfortunately, he doesn't even get his match against Aleister Black because I think as Aleister's making his entrance, Ron Killings just jumps Kit Wilson, beats his ass, puts him in the STF, grabs a mic and demands John Cena, I'll fight you right now. But everyone comes out to break him up, and it was nice to see Jamie Noble in particular getting in Ron's ear to calm him down. And unsurprisingly, I thought for a split second, are they going to make Kit Wilson wrestle this match and he's going to get hit with a black mass? But smarter heads prevailed.
Yeah. More on this later, I think. This is an R-Truth segment.
We go, I think there's a break here or whatever. Regardless, when we go to the back, Jamie Noble's there, still talking to Ron Killings, and Aleister Black shows up. Aleister? Ron?
Yeah.
Damian Priest there to keep the peace, though, and Aleister just walks off because Ron says, he says before Aleister leaves, it's nothing personal, it's nothing to do with him. And Priest tells Black that Ron is going through a lot right now. And Priest tells Ron, no need to do that. Look, I know you're frustrated. You can't go around beating up people for no reason, though. I used to do that, and you would be the guy standing right there that'd make me smile, make everyone smile, and make everyone feel better, basically. All that anger, negativity, Ron should use it with his match with John Cena later. Go out there and handle your business. And then we can go downtown and celebrate. Sounds good to Ron. And there's a nice hug.
A really nice trademark Triple H linking of things segment, this. You've yet to picture until it happens in front of your very eyes, the fact that now, because there's so much established law between Damian Priest and R-Truth, that you can flip the dynamic and make Damian Priest the guy that's trying to lighten the mood while R-Truth's super serious. You never imagined it would be that way around, and yet here we are. I like that as a little device. I think this is the slow, maybe not even that slow, road to the R-Truth / Ron Killings, because he seems to be calling himself one thing and everybody else, match graphics, commentators, other wrestlers seem to be using R-Truth. I don't know which one it is. Could be the slow road to a heel turn with this R-Truth character and him and Damian Priest doing something, and that's how they make use of this, of like Ron Killings, the interloper, the guy that has come back and shook things up a little bit. Which I have some thoughts on.
I have thoughts on this when we get to the Cena match.
Yeah.
Before that, though, Cody Rhodes comes out, does his big entrance before he could say, what are you guys going to talk about, though?
Didn't even get a chance.
No. Jey Uso's here. He comes through the crowd.
This is how everybody talks.
Yeah. Gets in the ring, and then it looks like they're going to cut a promo. But instead, what did Jey Uso do?
Cough around my sorry. Yeah. And they go back into the day again. Cody's fine.
Cody's face is a picture during all this. And Jey Uso gets a mic following this. He's done his little thing. You don't have to say anything, Us. Me and you have been in the trenches. We're still in the trenches from fighting with my family, winning tag gold, finishing our stories at WrestleMania. We've both been at the mountaintop. But this Monday, Us, there's only room for one of us. You against me against you. I know you're going to bring it. I got to get mine, just like you've got to get yours. That being said, Us, I know it's nothing personal. It's strictly business. With that being said, too, on Monday night after me and you go to war, please believe there's going to be 4 letters, 1 word, Yeet! Cody just looks very good. I hope he bloodies him up tonight on Raw.
Wow.
Kick his ass, Cody.
Good fire from Jey Uso here. Great.
You say it best.
You're the
Rick Reeves, that wasn't it?
It was a bit. You're the trained one in this field. Good acting is reacting, isn't it?
Heading home. I'm coming home, baby. Back to Warwick University this weekend.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh, is it like a
50 years of theatre at Warwick, and this is the best thing they've probably produced, probably.
They've got actually, yeah. Warwick University's very own Stephen Merchant He's got nothing on Adam Wilbourn, the finest alumni.
He's got height.
From that great... Yeah, he's got height on you. That's about it. They build them bloody big at Warwick University, don't they? Are you aware of anybody else from the world of media and the arts attending? I don't know this. I'm just asking as a
Me and all my mates. Basically, it's just a massive excuse for a uni lads reunion. Let's go back to Leamington Spa, baby.
College reunion. I was...
Some of the ladies from the course.
The lovely ladies.
Yeah, I'd love to see the lovely ladies.
Do you know, in something of a link to this, on Friday night, and Saturday, but Friday night especially, because there's somebody else that's sharing this room with us right now, I was able to live a bit of a university nostalgia run myself by treating our very own Adam Nicholas to his first ever night out in Sunderland.
Yes.
First ever.
How was it?
Yes.
Lovely weather. I was so jealous going home on Friday thinking these boys are going out in the beers in the sunshine.
Every pub was outdoor seating pretty much. And I mean, that's from like 6 p.m. till midnight and beyond or whatever. You could sit outside virtually everywhere.
Lucky.
I can't speak to Leamington Spa, but needless to say, in the 20 years since I was a student, lots has changed. Lots of the bars aren't the bars anymore. Some of the bars ain't the same no mo. But like the ones that were extra nostalgia, or the ability to like point to Nicholas. See that road? There's a small thing that happened in my life 20 years ago. And then on another road, there's another small thing. And the joy I got from the city delivering enough of those memories, like to be able to, if I had like sort of fellow students where it would be like, oh, and then that was the thing, and that was the thing, and that was the thing. It almost, I wanted the bars to be good because I wanted Nicholas to have a nice night. But with others that have those identical, it doesn't even matter if they're all complete trash, does it? The sort of pressure is off those ones delivering. It's just like, well, there's that street with that up, and there's that club.
I can pay it forward. I think I might have told this story before. The student accommodation I lived in first year. When I was in first year, some students, they must have not had anything better to do. I think their second years, maybe third years, just were walking around the halls. I don't know how they even got in. Not meant to. Regardless, they were walking around like, this used to be my room. Really, they're all just basically the same interchangeable rooms. I was like, good, very nice. He went, pissed in your sink yet? And so I can maybe pay that forward to the current crop of... Oh, no, they will have all left, won't they? When you finish now.
They ain't pissing as many sinks as you want.
Yeah, get in. University of Warwick sinks, you better watch out. Because you're in fucking trouble.
Do you know the only reason... Well, I suppose there's more than one reason, but do you know the real reason why I didn't piss in my sink in my whole residence room?
Why is that?
We didn't have... God, I am old.
Running water?
Close. We didn't have a functioning, like, laundrette facility for a while.
What?
Where, like, there was I remember when the halls were already quite old, and the laundrette that was, like, on site of our hall's residence was just, like... Is it the Big Bang Theory where the lift being out of order is just like a permanent running gag? Is that right?
Yeah, funniest joke in the show, probably.
Right. Jesus. This was the case for like the first 6 months of my time at the uni, where like I'd have to go to another hall's laundrette across town.
Just take it home.
You've got to remember, Wilbourn, this was obviously in the Victorian era, so
yeah, you know,
one of those big. You have to wash it again.
I would sit there, I would listen to that hip new band, the Beatles, and I would wonder how I was going to do my laundry, right? And yeah, a lot of the case was just big bin bag and buy new clothes, I suppose. Take it home at Christmas. But like some things you wanted, and like work clothes. I had a job, so I was like wanting like, ooh, ooh, fancy day, and I worked. Like, so I needed like my work uniform washed or whatever. So like,
chimneys aren't going to sweep themselves.
Don't know why I bothered starting this. So I had to buy like hand wash powder and just wash my clothes in the sink in my bathroom. And back then,
piss in there. Don't get any old stain out.
You cannot piss in there when you're going to be washing your clothes out there. Like
you can't look at yourself in the mirror afterwards.
Well, that as well. That little mirror's right there, isn't it? Yeah. Wash them in the sink, and then like with the little hall's window, the little square window, just hang them off the side of the window so them dry quicker.
It's
so
student in it. Yeah,
just it was fine. But like I cannot be pissing in the sink that I wash my top in. That's what we've always said.
That's the rule.
Like I knew some people are sick in those sinks. I found that, and we just leave it.
Oh yeah,
it's like go away eventually, will it? Like,
chopping carrot in this sink. I know
uni was the best, but like
uni was the best.
You sort of move those times, you compartmentalize those times.
Roast tinning
over there.
Yeah,
just remember all the good stuff.
Sami Zayn comes down. This is nice, isn't it? He says, "Get to share the ring with two great friends for now. Two of the very, very best this business has to offer." I would be lying if I say there was a part of me that is very aware that in the three of us standing in this ring, there's only one person who's never won the world title. Talks about missing WrestleMania, not missing it, but not being on WrestleMania.
Yeah.
He had no reason to be in Las Vegas. I mean, you always have a reason to be in Las Vegas. It's Las Vegas. Less than 300 days to go until night one of WrestleMania, ladies and gentlemen. And he got his ass on a plane because he wanted to be there to be the first person to congratulate him when he won the world title.
Wish it was tomorrow.
I love you. I'm proud of you. Cody, for years, every one of us watched with bated breath as you tried to finish your story. And when you did the unthinkable. You pinned Roman Reigns in the middle of the ring. And I was the first again to run in through the ropes and congratulate you. I'm proud you finished your story. But I hope you both understand now it's time to finish my story. Well, at least up until Randy Orton comes out. He says, Cody, same deal as last week. I'm going to say it again. There's no line I will not cross, even if it means going through you to get to John Cena at SummerSlam, to beat him, 15-time world champion. Uso, I respect the hell out of you, dude. Our families go way back, nothing but love. But if you're standing across the ring from me at SummerSlam, it's not going to be 4 letters, 1 word. It's going to be 3 letters, 1 move. It means RKO is what he's referring to there, in case you didn't work that out.
Good.
I think not only...
Sex. When we're left in the third, it's always sex. S-E-X.
I think not only can I speak for myself, but also for each one of you beautiful people in this arena. And I say, Sami, one day soon, you will be world champion, but SummerSlam's not that day, because tonight you're going to be on the receiving end of the 3 most destructive letters in sports entertainment, RKO. And he was. Cost me a coffee.
Yeah, which I'd forgotten about that until this morning. This was great. This was really great. This was in such wonderful contrast to the main event, which I know I keep going back to, an illustration of what this WWE era has been so great at. Yeah, 4 massively over baby faces. Yes, Randy Orton's on this kind of legacy run, but that was 2023 Survivor Series that he came back. So look at how long he's managed to sustain this legacy run. With Randy Orton at the moment, it feels like everything is a novelty, even though he wrestles all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Feels like when he says, I fancy one more run at that title. Oh, buddy, I'll go on and Randy. And yet he's basically a regular again.
Mm-hmm.
But there's something about the way that he carries himself and the way that he makes things mean more than they would if it was just any other standard run-the-mill match where you're like, oh, bloody hell. God bless you, mate. It's very bizarre. And I never imagined I would... Maybe it's because I'm using Cena as the contrast. But I just never imagined a time in my life this guy that has bored me to tears, almost literally so, for decades, has become such a pleasure to watch. But he is. And his ability to kind of... What would it even be? When you're so over and established and such a legacy guy, no pun intended, that you are a little brother in somebody, but it doesn't feel patronizing and cruel and cynical. It feels almost like, I'm glad I've got a big brother, and that big brother's Randy Orton.
Yeah.
That's how it feels. For him, that's preposterous that he's doing that to a Sami Zayn. And yet, I sort of buy it.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's been at the top of the mountain all those times, and Sami never has. So that's the one thing that he can absolutely have his number on. And give him the, one day, ruffle in his hair,
But not yet, not until I've had mine.
He can do that. Not many can, but he can. Jey Uso, much the same. We've talked about how Jey Uso being vulnerable is what powers his entire babyface story, no matter who he's fighting. And you get that with the little contrast with Cody. Loved. Something you weren't even invited to think about. But just the idea that Jey Uso can interrupt Cody, and we are given the visual of, Cody's fine, but don't step on my dick, mate. And then Sami does the exact same to Jey Uso. That's the one they wanted you to ignore. They wanted you to see that Cody was like, I'm the quarterback, and this, what are you doing? But they didn't want you to think about that with a Sami, but Sami's just done exactly what Jey did to Cody. And that's really, really lovely detail work, considering what we know about these baby faces kind of all on this same quest to get back to the belt, which again, never understate how important that if the biggest picture is all the goodies want the belt, you're doing something right still. And just to put a capper on it, there is a real artfulness to having a celebration of the baby faces segment centered around a King of the Ring tournament final that is going to propel one of them to that spot. And the guy who, the self-appointed quarterback, but he is, the quarterback, WWE, of WWE, Cody Rhodes, doesn't get to say a word.
Say a word.
And how will that affect him? How will he will beat Jey Uso, and they will run him and Randy Orton. That I'm pretty confident of. But how will he feel upon beating Jey Uso and going into next week's SmackDown and going into the Randy Orton match of that, I have fallen so far away from where I need to be that the segment can play out like that. They're really, say he gets a title shot and they're on the road to SummerSlam, him saying, like, I need you, the champion, whoever it is, John Cena, Seth Rollins, CM Punk, I need you to know how it felt to be in that ring with three of my friends, three of my peers, three of my contemporaries, and none of them respected me enough to even let me get a word in. What was I on top for? If I'm still not that guy to them, will I ever be? You know, like, it might have just been a one-night thing, but I thought it was a genuinely artful choice to not even give them the sort of the manners of getting a word in. I thought that was such a cool device and an unusual one at that as well. Again, like, WWE are very cagey about how they let their baby faces look weak, even though weakness is important. Jey's vulnerability is important. And this was the night where Cody Rhodes inadvertently had some like vulnerability thrust upon him. And I thought I was really, really smart. Loved this.
And we lead straight into Randy Orton versus Sami Zayn, King of the Ring semi-finals. Back and forth early on until Orton pokes Sami Zayn in the eye. Still can get away with it as a babyface. Yeah. They fight to the outside. Orton hits that back suplex on the table. I was thinking, how's this going to be received by the fans? But they just loved everyone and loved everything in this match. So it didn't even seem weird when they were like, yeah, slam his back against the table again, Randy. Which he does a second time as we go to a break. When we come back, Zayn does that awesome springboard dodge of his to get behind Orton, hits him with a clothesline. Big elbow, axe handle, blue thunder bomb, but that gets countered by Orton, who hits those clotheslines and that scoop power slam. Draping DDT on the ropes. Sets up for an RKO. Zayn rolls out. Orton goes out after him. Slams his face against the announce table. But this time when he goes for the table back suplex, Zayn counters and Orton gets one instead. Zayn also avoids a shoulder charge when they get back in. And the Viper heads into the ring post instead. Zayn sets up for a haluva kick, but got intercepted with a nice snap power slam for his troubles. Zayn just kicks out. Orton dodges a haluva kick at the last second, tries to hit the RKO. Zayn turns that around into an awesome blue thunder bomb. The desperation I had for the coffee here, I don't know whether I was just really enjoying this match and there was a lot of stakes or there was coffee or what, but I was like, maybe he's going to win it with the blue thunder bomb. Yeah. Orton kicks out the very last second though. Zayn goes up top, misses a dive. Orton tries for an RKO. Zayn counters, but a second attempt, he hits it. 1, 2, 3. Randy Orton is in the King of the Ring final.
Fabulous match.
Brilliant this.
Fabulous. You said it there about the coffee. I would argue that the King of the Ring had its place too.
Yeah, maybe.
The stakes were never far from your mind watching this, and it was wrestled by the both of them wanting to pull you into their, like, not struggle, their, like, the quest that they're on. You really, really felt it. Randy Orton having the answer for the haluva kick was that kind of, old pros here, man. Like, what are you not going to get me with? You mentioned about the Blue Thunder, and it's almost like when Sami, the few times he wins with that is because it's like, I won with this. And what a time to drop that in here, because it feels like the haluva kick is either A, not going to get it done, or B, he's just not going to hit the thing. And obviously that's what we get in the end. And similarly, Randy Orton struggled to, like, not quite get the RKO, but just get Sami where he wants him because of Sami's own experience, his veteran experience. The few times Orton got the big moves on Sami Zayn, it was because Sami Zayn had, like, been beaten down enough to be in position. The second table suplex was, like, a good example of Randy Orton being able to, like, assert his dominance rather than simply grasp for it. You know, like, it was always the second move, the follow-up move from Randy Orton, where the first one was like, oh, I got him with something. Right, now I've got a chance to get him with something else. And then if I don't get him with another thing, he's going to counter back up again. Yeah. And they just played with that pattern over and over again, but every time it worked. That's how you make the best of... when I say Randy Orton's limited moveset, I don't necessarily mean that as a criticism, but I mean that's how you, like, maximize the things he does and the things that people like to anticipate. Sami Zayn could live to be 100 and can wrestle with the babyface guile of a 21-year-old still fighting, literally fighting for that title. This was all of their positives maximized to their ultimate end, to the point where the drama around the conclusion couldn't have failed in that building. And it was... like, it meant, to your point about them both being baby faces and the fans kind of being up for everything, it wasn't that sort of thing where half the crowd wanted Orton to win and half the crowd wanted Sami to win. I think at various points they couldn't decide. And they were, like, bit of a cliche, but they were taken on the ride. Yeah. And they were ready to kind of go in the direction it took it. I loved this. Sami Zayn this year with Randy Orton and CM Punk. And one more I'm forgetting, and I can't think of it, and it'll come back to me. It's a recent... it was the Saturday Night's Main Event tag match. Like, with Punk against Rollins and Breakker, is, like, maybe up there. I know that doesn't seem like much evidence. He's maybe my TV Wrestler of the Year, because, my God, does he know how to, like, summon all the importance and all the sort of the high stakes. The Punk match was an Elimination Chamber qualifier, wasn't it?
Yes.
So they've got this stipulation that hangs in the air. And in those matches, Jesus Christ, am I like living and dying with what he's doing? Even if I don't want him to
got
win.
to win the Rumble, hasn't he?
Well, and that's sort of perfectly placed for it, isn't it? I wanted Orton to win this because I kind of wanted Orton Cody more. I wanted Punk to get into the Jam. But then he's got me on this ride. I'm like, yeah, but if he gets it done, fair enough. Go on, Sam, go on. Loved it. Loved this.
Following that, we have Nia Jax come out talking about how Tiffany Stratton first came to her to get some guidance, and then she repays that by betraying her and winning the world title from her. This brings out Tiffany Stratton. Nia Jax, by the way, does an incredible eye roll here. It's like The Undertaker. She calls Jax the toxic ex you just couldn't get away from. Just admit that I'm better than you. Jax said, why don't you prove it by facing me again without kicking a chair in my face? And Stratton said, all right, next week, me and you, last woman standing match. And I thought, you do both know Naomi's got a briefcase, right? Last woman standing match is a risky strategy. They brawl, and Jax gets the better of it and takes out Tiffany with a series of leg drops. And this brings out Naomi. Another attempted cash in here, but Nia Jax pulls her out of the ring and stops it. And Stratton recovers enough to kick Naomi off the apron into Jax, and Tiffany Stratton bails.
Yeah, it is a bit forced, this. I get the booking. The booking is good from a tactical point of view. I'm not particularly entertained by the end product. I think, what a weird sentence this is, I think they are leaning on the chemistry that Nia and Tiffany have to try and get Tiffany to that next level in a way that the Charlotte feud didn't.
I thought their match that they had, where she kicked the chair in her face, was one of the best matches Tiffany's had on the main roster.
Yeah, terrific. It was a street fight, wasn't it? Yeah. So they've come up with a stipulation that basically allows the same stuff, but they can do more.
And it's justified in terms of, like, Tiffany's moved on, and then Nia jumped her last week. She's like, oh, no.
It's like a giant emerging from the rubble, isn't it? She's like, I need to put you down and out, so it's got to be for 10 rather than for 3 or whatever. And Weapons has made their stuff great, and their chemistry, physically, I'm guessing because they're mates and they lay it in. There's a bit of that. So I don't love the on-screen stuff that much, but I get it, and I think it's worthwhile to do. I've said it for a few weeks now. They're onto a hiding to nowhere if they want to see Naomi and Tiffany Stratton play out with Naomi getting booed. You can just feel it. Like this audience.
Oh, I don't think. I think we're just getting Jade versus Tiff, and that's when the cash-in happens. Or it may even happen before that. It may happen here at the last woman standing match. Yeah. Naomi cashes in, and then Jade immediately wins Queen of the Ring, and there's your match at SummerSlam.
You could do that. It might not be the worst thing. I don't think Tiffany Stratton is enough of a babyface to sustain that cash-in without the fans just being pleased about it, you know?
Yeah.
Like,
she's a fun heel, too, if you want to go down that road.
Yeah.
Brilliant video package highlighting Punk and Cena's rivalry over the years gets shown, and then we get Charlotte Flair versus Chelsea Green. Green wearing that face mask for the time being, covering her broken nose. Green cheap shots Flair to take the advantage early on, but Flair fights back because it's Charlotte Flair. Piper Niven, jumps up on the apron to distract the referee to allow Fire to get on the apron and grab at Flair. That allows Green to hit the neck breaker to take us to a break. When we come back, Flair's trying to make a comeback, takes her down with a suplex, mocks her salute, sets up for the figure 8, but Alba Fire gets on the apron, causes a distraction, and Chelsea Green hits a Rough Rider. She takes off the mask and goes to take her out with the Unpretty Her, but can't connect. Flair hit a spear, Green kicked out, and then there's all this chaos with Secret Service, etc. And Flair manages to put the figure 8 on Green, who taps out, but the bells barely start to ring until Piper Niven hits an awesome senton. Bit worried for a second. Nice tweet from Piper Niven about this. Sometimes these things happen in the ring, but unfortunately, Charlotte Flair still walked away, basically.
Yeah.
Alba Fire and Green joining the attack, but Alexa Bliss makes the save for Charlotte Flair. Sister Abigail on Chelsea Green from Alexa Bliss. Secret Service bail, and Bliss offers a hand to Flair, but she ignores it.
Bliss and Flair, this is what you do. This is what you do to get these two together in the end. And as you said, like as you pointed out earlier on, I think it's an important detail because nobody really buys or like cares that these two might have been mates way back when in NXT. You've got to establish this as brand new, really. They've got to make friends now, here in 2025, as allies, with whether it be because of common enemies or whatever. You've got to work at that. The match was, like, if we're being clinical, perfectly well worked in terms of the execution of the moves. It was a mess from a dynamic point of view. It was a mess. Charlotte Flair, what would be the best examples? Dealing with the Secret Service as they try to cheat, or doing Chelsea's pose back at her, those kind of things. Against a heel that the audience hates, might have got Charlotte some cheers. Against the one heel in the WWE who might be more over than three-quarters of the babyface, that's when you like unpick the matchmaking and you're like, this was a poor choice. I get that you needed like running buddies to invite Alexa Bliss down. There isn't that I can think of right now another situation where there's like a heel female with some heel mates that Charlotte Flair could find herself disadvantaged in the numbers game sort of thing. So I get that. I do get that. This didn't work. This did not work because it wasn't just that happening. So that can happen to Charlotte Flair. We know this. They are going to, and it appears like they're going to fight it forever. They're going to fight this consistent losing battle to just get her cheered. That's one thing. It's quite another when the exact opposite was happening on the other side of the ring. So Chelsea Green was doing heel stuff and Big Pop. Like big reaction. She would cheat and it would be like, yeah, like, dare I say it, make this like lofty comparison. There would be like Eddie Guerrero responses to the villainy.
Yeah.
And it was just like, you've made a mess here. Like you kind of, and this match is evidently not going to clear it up. The pipe and Niven bump was like awesome and scary because she flattened her and it could have been like broken arms and broken legs at the same time.
One, wasn't it? You're like, oh.
Everybody seemed to get up and be fine, and that's a good thing. And the story can continue on. Are we hitting a problem with this Chelsea Green thing? Are we like, and do you know, and bigger picture WWE, just to go back to our sort of debate in the intro, this isn't the first time this is happening. Something that's happened in 2025 that never happened in 23, 24, or even the second half of 2022 is increasingly the fans are starting to make their minds up more about the characters before Triple H has. Dominic Mysterio at WrestleMania, Chelsea Green brackets general, Charlotte Flair always, maybe that's a bad example. John Cena at the end of this show and other times against Cody Rhodes. Cody Rhodes at various points. We are seeing more and more the fans dictating how they feel about wrestlers, which wouldn't be a bad thing, but it is often in direct opposition to the booking that's being presented. Naomi's another one currently as well. You can feel it starting to sort of swell and bubble under. And I think it's not end of days or the end of the world, but I think that's a really bad sign because
I think they're aware of Chelsea Green.
I think they are, but whether or not it's in the plans to do anything about it.
I think so.
But I just think, you know, sometimes when it's heel to babyface, it's like, well, it's a good thing because it means they've gotten more over, and you work with it. But what do we say at the start? I don't think Triple H is great at working with that. And if you've got 6 more months of them in a different character, then you might have a problem on your hands. I sense this generation, a lot of them new, and that's a good thing. New WWE fans are having their first go around of, we want something different now. And that is it's the most direct vocal criticism of the booking outside of just saying the booking sucks, because a lot of the booking doesn't suck. We're talking about the stuff that works and works really well. But all of these none of this is the yes movement, and I'm not saying any of it is, but all of these small protest
I think the
votes,
Dominic one's a bit of a reach. I think they knew what they were doing with it. Putting Finn in there with him.
Yeah, but like at WrestleMania, it was like he got as big a pop as Steve Austin.
Yeah, but I think that was by design in terms of he didn't go in there being like, me and you are going to work together, Finn, and then suddenly be like, oh, I'll just do this by myself, actually. They knew that Finn was like, you're going to go in there and help me win. And everyone's like, no.
I'd take that, but I just think to go from the guy who would just hold a microphone to his mouth in order to get the most heat in the building, and that was exactly what was by design, to now almost like they've continued to program him against baby faces. He wrestled Penta, and he wrestled, who was it?
AJ? Or was he?
It was there was the other one I was thinking of. It was the one. What was the match he had at Money in the Bank? that didn't need to go on the card and was a waste of everybody's time because he just got cheered despite working as a slimy heel throughout.
Oh, yeah. Do you mean Money in the Bank? Do you mean Worlds Collide?
Sorry, Worlds Collide. No, it was Worlds Collide to set up Money in the Bank, wasn't it? They threw it on at the last minute.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's not going to work because the fans are just going to like have a bit of a party atmosphere and throw the figurative beach ball around and cheer every little cheating thing he does when he's grabbing the tights and whatever. And I agree a babyface turn is happening, but I don't necessarily think all of it was by design. And I do sense the audience are like finding their voice for the first time and telling the bookers, telling Triple H, whatever, we want to think this way about them. And in wrestling, you have to go with that sometimes. But Triple H doesn't go with much unless it's come from his grand design and grand plan. And that creates a bit of a push and pull, I think. That's when he gets a little bit sniffy in the press conferences. Enjoying the story. That's when he lashes out and he acts out, you know. Like that's how that sort of stuff happens. He likes these press conferences because he likes people to turn up and be like, you've got the momentum of a runaway freight train. What makes you so great? That's why he does those things.
Well, where does Jacob Fatu factor into all this?
That's a babyface turn. But that was a babyface turn illustrated by the very first sort of methods of control that Sola Sikoa used. You were encouraged to see him as the real deal and fans back winners. So from early on, when Solo was outed as a total fraud, and it was like, well, he's lucky he's got this guy. And if we're thinking that, you know, we're waiting for the turn.
JC Mateo's taping up backstage when Solo says, don't need to do that. I'll go up by myself. But, be ready. He's coming home, but be ready just in case. And Solo's out there doing his best sob story. I'm here, all alone in the ring, open arms, want to talk face to face. Feel terrible about what happened. Come out, we can clear the air. I didn't come here to fight you. I love you. Loved you no matter what. Hey, look, one thing I learned about being tribal chief was how to love and take care of my family. That's all I'm trying to do. Families fight all the time. They fight, they argue, they forgive, and they move forward. Move forward together, Jacob. Let's do that as one. Nobody saw the potential in you except me. Nobody wanted you here except me. That's why I brought you here. I gave you the opportunity to change your life. Put food on the table for your family. You know why I did that for you, Jacob? Because I love you. I love you, man. Let's be honest. I don't have anybody else. All I've got left is you. You're all I've got, Jacob. You're all I need. Come back to the family. Even if you don't say those four words, I'll say it for you. I'll say it to you. I'll say it loud and proud to everybody. Everybody can hear it. I love you, Jacob.
That's what he said.
Jacob comes out. I'm like, snap him, Jacob. Kill him. So you love me, huh? That's what it comes down to. You loving me, huh? The way I see things is you've been using me. You've been using me to gain power, fight your battles, just so you can say the tribal chief. You brought me in, so I can bring you fame? You thought I was going to bring you gold? Is that what this is all about? Fame, gold, tribal chief, power? Sola, look at me when I'm talking to you. Jesus Christ. You see, ever since I won this US title, you're the one that's been acting different. Maybe I'm not the problem. Maybe the problem isn't me. You know what? I figured out. Maybe the problem is this. The US title. Lays it out between them. Fight me for it. Fight me for this US title. And Solo, I'm only going to warn you one time. If you ever think of coming this way, you know what I'm about. You know what's popping with me. Jacob Fatu is all gas, no brakes. You know what I mean? And Solo's like, yeah. And tries to spike him. Obviously, Jacob catches it. JC Mateo piles in. And 2-on-1 beatdown on Jacob Fatu. Until Jimmy Uso, Big Jim, makes the save. I say makes the save. Sacrifices himself.
Yeah.
Because then JC Mateo and Solo beat him up. But that allows Jacob to recover. And suddenly you're like, oh no, even a 2-on-1 beatdown wouldn't work against this man. Now he's all fired up. He's just shaking. And batters him, smashes him in the corner, sets up for that amazing moonsault of his, but they bail before he can hit. And there's a nice, just a look shared between Jimmy Uso and Jacob Fatu. A match is set for Night of Champions, isn't it?
Love this.
It's amazing.
How could you not love this? End to end. Sola Sikoa was brilliant. Had a lot to get through. Had a lot to remember. Had a lot of points to hit. His performance was going to carry the insincerity, but the words mattered too. Nailed it. And I mean, John Cena go and get some acting advice from Sola Sikoa, apparently, because I just loved the fake, sincerity that he put on. Just dripping with, just oozing this complete snake in the grass attitude, this like desperate but playing it down arsehole. The truth emerged when he was like, oh, I've got nothing left. Like you could see the reality of the situation had set in, but then he would immediately try and switch it the other way. Which is why we need to stay together, man. Like the beeline is a real thing. They're just...
He's definitely got Hikuleo waiting as well.
Yeah, like... Bones,
no one else.
Bones their arse. He's got a giant just waiting to like cause devastation.
I was hoping that... I genuinely wasn't hoping for the title match yet. I want them to book a tag match for a couple of weeks.
I was quite surprised they get into it. It makes me think Jacob Fatu will win and Hikuleo will debut in the aftermath of it.
Okay.
I don't know whether that takes us to Rematch City or what, but...
Or they flip-flop the title. He wins because of Hikuleo's involvement at Night of Champions.
Maybe, yeah.
Jacob wins it back at SummerSlam, obviously.
Aye. He's been cheated out of it, and it becomes like a numbers situation where, well, you see, if Hikuleo does make the difference at Night of Champions, and all of a sudden, you know how like a lot of bloodline stuff, successful as it was often quite basic in just constructing it so the heels always had the advantage, whether it was like in numbers or in smarts or whatever. You've got 3 of them on the heel side, and you've got 2 baby faces and a free Jey Uso. And
or Omos.
Or almost. Yeah, a giant.
For the giant.
Giant for a giant. So we'll say Jey Uso for now, but yeah, we'll table Omos. Lovely fella.
Lovely bloke.
Yeah, couldn't have been nicer to us. So if we're pitching him into a Master SummerSlam match, let's go for it. But I will be honest, my first thought was Jey Uso.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. It did feel like the beginning of the folding Jey Uso back into the Usos. And there's a lot to be excited about that, isn't there? You know, this is not, you know, like don't cry for the complete death of his singles run, but get excited for the return of the tag stuff. Great pop for Jimmy Uso coming out and making the save. He's made in his own way now, I think, is this guy that matters. I like seeing him and Jacob trying to gradually piece things back together. There's almost something, this is a bit patronising and a bit hair ruffly, but there's almost something quite sweet about watching them all thrive without the need and the lurking shadow of a Roman Reigns or a Rock. You know, like how they were like all, and I used to include Jason in this, all of them would get to do a little bit of their whatever, their kind of knockabout feud stuff, but then there was always the 2 big stars. What's Roman going to think? What's Rock going to think? And how's this going to... Yeah, this is just its own little thing. Like, Solo's stupid choices have put him in this predicament.
He's the best, isn't he?
Jacob's going to kick his ass. Yeah, loads of gratification off that. As you say, if this particular version of Sola Sikoa steals the title from Jacob Fatu, are you fucking kidding me? We need to get parity and then we need to get the belt back. And that's going to be like the fans really... Just like to your point before about the Jacob Fatu babyface turn, they will gladly power him back to taking that title because Sola Sikoa, Jacob Fatu is unstoppable. How has this happened? Let's get him back to the top of the mountain again. No notes. Great stuff this to me.
Then we had Bronson Reed versus LA Knight.
Yeah.
I'm not going to really go through this match because it went to a DQ, and that's kind of what I valued the most about it because Bronson Reed makes his entrance. Seth Rollins and stable makes their entrance. LA Knight's music hits, and he sneaks up behind Bron Breakker and chucks him into the ring post. And Reed has to be like, can't get him yet. I'm going to get him. Knight looked really good in here, I thought. Really, really good. And it looked like, well, Reed gets Knight up and goes for a big powerbomb. Knight reverses that into a DDT. Breakker gets up on the apron and gets knocked down by Knight for his troubles. Reed gets sent to the outside. Knight looks for a dive and Breakker hits spear on him for the DQ. He just got so wound up here that he couldn't control himself. And then, yes, they just destroy LA Knight post-match. Reed holds him in position. There's that super spear of Bron Breakker's that he batters him with. Numerous tsunamis! And... Reed just squished him at post-match, and they stand tall over him. It wasn't a prediction; it was a spoiler as to what was going to come. Yeah,
a good beatdown in terms of furthering the story and LA Knight needing revenge and maybe realizing that the numbers game is too big for him. Kind of makes Seth Rollins tacitly look like a coward because he sent his monsters out there to do the dirty work in the hope that like he's not taking LA Knight seriously, and LA Knight's going to have to make him take him. All that kind of stuff. That's not bad. You're right. The match. I liked LA Knight trying to figure out the way to win. You know, like he did the I think it put Bronson Reed over as more of a monster.
Oh, yeah.
Bronson Reed is this very delicate thing where sometimes the way he wrestles, if an opponent doesn't put over his threat, he doesn't actually feel that threatening. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I get it.
The Tsunami is over because of what Seth did for it last year. But so much of Bronson's stuff is entirely reliant on how much the opponent treats him like they're in there with Andre the Giant. And that, it wasn't like it was like an Asai body press.
Yeah.
Like, LA Knight sort of sprung himself off. It was like, well, he's there, and I've got a bit of spring off this, so off we go. Whoa! And it's like, that's how you make it look like you're having to chop down a tree. And I thought there was a bit of that from LA Knight, and that was quite nice agenting. And yeah, the story.
I had no problem with the DQ. Because it's instilling the thing now that Bron is an uncontrollable dog.
Yes, and he
could get. I think that's going to get him in trouble down the line with Seth.
And like Bron Breakker, the constant, like if you work in WWE. It's a bit like me not wanting to walk through certain parks in America and Canada out of fear of a coyote that is almost never going to walk out the bush. In WWE, like the whole company is the bush and the coyote might just spring out of it at any given moment. Sorry, now you work here, you're on site for a Bron Breakker spear. And that's like a fun thing, a fun threat to loom over everybody.
Yeah.
Especially if you cross Seth. Like
I could picture someone like bad-mouthing Seth or Bron in a promo, and Bron being sat at home watching it, and him just sprinting the entire way to whatever arena they're at to spear the person.
What did you say about me? Well, a week ago, I can't remember. I can. Yeah. I like that clear and present danger of Bron Breakker.
3 title matches on SmackDown. Next week is Zelina Vega and Julia for the Women's US title. Street Profits Wyatt at 6 for the tag titles, and Tiffany Stratton, last woman standing against Nia Jax for the women's title, of course. And yeah, Jacob Fatu solo for Night of Champions. Then we got Ron Killings, R-Truth versus John Cena. No messing about from Killings here. He tackles him, goes to the outside. Real aggression showed here. Throws Cena into the corner with major force as you go to picture-in-picture. Hits his own shoulder tackles against Cena and a spin-out powerbomb. Cena comes back when we come back from the break, hits a 5-knuckle shuffle, tries the attitude adjustment, but Killings escapes. Luthez press. Cena's had enough. He bails with the WWE Championship. Truth goes after him, and Cena blasts him with the WWE title for a disqualification.
So I think we're going to, thus begins our disagreement section.
Yes.
I'll ask you to give me a month, but they have flushed it. With R-Truth, they've flushed it. It's gone. It's gone, and it's gone because Triple H never wanted it there in the first place. And I firmly believe that was what we were seeing play out on Friday. And again, give me a month. And if he has turned heel and this Damian Priest thing is a big deal, great. If he has become something entirely different again, maybe as a babyface, and there's who knows. In a month, let's see if R-Truth is like even 3/4 as over as he was when he stood on the table and he cut his hair off, or when he ran in at Money in the Bank or whatever. This feels like what I believe it to be, which is TKO making the weird choice to be like, I think we got that one wrong. Let's bring him back. And then Triple H being like, what? Like I was fine about that. Yeah, well, we've decided that this is happening. And to capitalize on that, I want him running, being the difference maker in your main event. That's not in my plans. We can't do that. Make it in your plans. All right, fine, sod you then. And it can't get in the way of Punk and Truth any more than they wanted to. And then enough thought has gone into it to be like, well, there is a bit of symmetry with you know what, and we can preview it on our podcast.
Same week, wasn't it? I think.
Yeah, we can,
said.
Like lots of little bits of sort of like, that's quite sweet how that's worked out. And people with square heads can get on podcasts and say things like, well, you know how that set up the first pipe bomb? We could probably set up a second pipe bomb and people can get excited for a pipe bomb. So you do it, and I find do it. This was like in every respect, and I take what you're saying about the aggression and the attempt they're trying to create a bit of chaos around R-Truth as this guy that kind of like runs to the building, attacks people, and needs to be hauled away. I don't think it's that. I think that's dressing up something here. I think that's like, it's not polishing a turd because it's super unfair to call R-Truth a turd, but in Triple H's mind, this was just a thing that he did not want. So this is like trying to not bury anybody and trying to not get in the way of his bigger story. It's like, well, chuck it out with the DQ and then probably never go back to it. Like, I think R-Truth goes down the card from here. Potentially never even to be seen again in the running. Look, I don't mind holding my hands up, but give me a month on this. From this day, like, less than a month. The build cycle to SummerSlam even. I don't think R-Truth is in a position of prominence, and I think you've had your, like, this is Triple H or whoever, you've had your fun. Like, I don't know why this has happened. We've given him 6 more months. Like, down the card and out of the company he will go, which is what they intended to do a month back.
See, I think the opposite. I thought Ron Killing's just got a win over John Cena.
Mm-hmm.
Just beat John Cena.
Yep.
He's going to get a rematch again, I think.
Okay.
Maybe even at SummerSlam.
Okay.
Punk wins the title.
Yeah, the belt out of the way.
Because I think these dates things, babyface Cena can just turn around and say, yeah, I'll just do as many dates as I want. Who cares?
I sense that's happening.
Because they're burning through them if not. They've only got 10?
But what you would be pitching would be 3 spent on R-Truth.
Yeah, exactly.
So that you would want more bang for your buck off John Cena, if so, I would say. We'll see. Well, it's episodic. I can give it the benefit of the doubt episodically, but I just felt like this was being one of those kind of old fashions. You want R-Truth, they're just thinking R-Truth.
Yeah.
The
big issue here is what came next.
Yeah.
CM Punk runs down, brawls with John Cena, goes to hit Cena with his own WWE title, but gets hit with a massive kick to the cock. And Cena hits him with his signature now, belt shot. Mm-hmm. Gets the Slim Jim branded table. We don't care, do we, about it being Slim Jim branded?
I think it looks great. I think it matters in context of this a bit later on, but typically I got no problem with it.
Another huge shot with the title from Cena to CM Punk, and then he hits an AA through the table, grabs a microphone, and sits himself on the top turnbuckle. Should I just do the whole thing?
Yeah, go on then. I enjoy watching you perform.
His sort of microphone, the reason why he says this initially is because he starts saying, CM Punk, as you lay there in your most uncomfortable position, his mic drops out, and he's like, uh-oh, somebody's afraid of what I'm going to say. As you lay there in your most uncomfortable, I hope you can listen, hope you can digest, because before I leave here in 6 months with that WWE Championship, I got a lot of stuff I want to get off my chest. First things first, Punk, I don't hate you. I don't even dislike you. I do like you. I like you a lot more than anyone that you've shared a locker room with before. I hate this idea that you're the best in the world. You're not. I'm the greatest of all time. You're better than me at one thing. You're the best bullshitter in the world. Oh no, kiddos. John Cena's just dropped a curse word. That means the show's completely off the rails. Hey, Stu. Recognizes Stu again. Shoot this. Oops. I'm breaking the fourth wall. The truth is, Punk, I'm jealous of you. I'm jealous that you con these people into believing the myth that you're the best in the world. Oh, they chant for you. They do. When you come out, they sing to you, and then they don't believe a goddamn word you say because you change your values as much as I change my T-shirts.
Oh, my God.
That's a sick line. I like that. You're just a loudmouth opportunist who will step on the necks of people who actually work hard if it gets you ahead. Hey, Claudio Castagnoli. How you doing? Hey, Nick Nemeth. Hey, Matt Cardona. How you guys doing? We still on, baby? He's heating up. He's on fire. And there's nobody in the back that's going to cut my mic or save your ass because I'm your only friend. Remember who gave you the stage for your pipe bomb, pal? What have you done with it since then? You just regurgitate the same 5 microphone moves of doom. Your promo potato salad, pal. You're no longer the voice of the voiceless. You're a freaking millionaire, despite yourself. You're not Punk. You're a capitalist. You're not against TKO, dude. You're Mr. TKO. Because they knocked your balls off, technically, off your body. Your tweets are strong. Your actions are weak. And in Saudi Arabia, you're going to face some loud music when I finally prove to the world that each and every day, day in and day out, no days off for 25 years, I have been the greatest of all time. They know you were the best in the world for 7 minutes 14 years ago. And if after Night of Champions you're still delusional enough to believe that you're the best in the world, well, I guess it's a small world after all. You're welcome, Grand Rapids. Bring your A game to Night of Champions. Because as you can tell, if this building is in Grand Rapids is any indication, the mood is starting to change. And the referee slides in to check on Punk at this point. It's fine. Not going to do any more damage. You got to rest up. You got a big championship match. Ain't that right? The best in the world. Get a good shot against the greatest of all time for the most coveted prize in sports entertainment, the WWE Undisputed Championship. I know you'll sing, I know you'll chant, but I know even if your idiots are smart enough to see the truth, the champ is here. Hey, USA, you can keep the extra 2.5 minutes. I don't need a bomb. Elvis has left the mother-fudging building. Thanks for letting me rip off your promo to make you look even more foolish. And he leaves.
Well, I do want your thoughts first, but let me just say that as far as I'm concerned, like, you get a silver medal on the podium to Sola Sikoa's gold, and I wouldn't even give Cena a bronze. That was vastly superior. For anybody that hasn't watched SmackDown, that is listening to this podcast, I would urge you to go and watch John Cena's version of Adam Wilbourn's pipe bomb and see if he can perform it as well as Wilbs just did, because he didn't. That's what I'll say to begin with. And just very quickly, Cena telling Punk, and the referee, don't worry, like, I'm not going to do anything more. Well, I don't think anyone's worried because he's killed him. He's killed everything about his character, and with a single move through a table, has left him for dead. So I have no worries that John Cena will defeat CM Punk, because it looks pretty bloody easy per that segment. You loved it.
Yeah, I loved it.
Why?
I think it's the best thing John Cena's done since the heel turn at Elimination Chamber.
Okay, but that bar's in hell.
Granted, yes.
But so why do you
thought
like
it was,
this?
I thought it was a genius move to do the flip reverse of the pipe bomb. I genuinely, you and Sid have talked about it, and I've seen people talking about it online. I didn't even think about Punk just being laid there. I was just like, yeah, he's unconscious. He wasn't writhing around. He didn't get up and sort of watch him do he didn't move the entire thing. And it's just one of those things. I think I get it. I get it that, some moves people get up from in 5 seconds or whatever. And, in the case of a match, sometimes these things get late. An RKO can lay someone out for a minute so that Randy can cut a promo, but in a match, they can kick out in 3 seconds, whatever it may be.
Yes.
It genuinely didn't bother me. I didn't even think about it. I was so enthralled by Cena's version of the pipe bomb, which I thought was really good, really clever in terms of obviously flipping everything on its head, and also deliberately crap. Like, in terms of the bit where he was like, oh, I'm doing all this stuff and I'm saying all these things. I was like, yeah, this isn't the pipe bomb, because the pipe bomb was cool.
Yeah.
This isn't cool. He's
mocking the very idea of it.
It was John Cena. He's a heel.
Yeah.
He's ruining wrestling. He's ruining all your favorite things, including the pipe bomb.
I kind of think, I'll take that. And
I really, really liked it. I absolutely get where you and Sid are coming from and other people are coming from. And I get, I've seen the response online, and it's a divisive thing. Like,
yes,
I was like, because I saw your tweet and then I watched this and I was like, I think we've watched two completely different things here.
Yeah.
And then I went online and half the people are like, well, there he is. That's the version of heel CM Punk heel John Cena we've needed since Elimination Chamber. And other people are like, oh, it's just corny or whatever, or blah, blah, blah. And I was like, I'm fascinated to see what people think about this. I was like, I genuinely even checked the poll for what did you think of SmackDown from WhatCulture Wrestling. 85% up.
That's nice.
Which is better than Raw did, better than I think any show did last week.
Well, yeah. Thanks, Sola Sikoa.
Yeah.
What previously never boiled my piss about John Cena until this specific run. And this is not to, I suppose it is to debate something you've just said there, because that was a well-articulated defense of this promo, far superior to the defenses I saw of it elsewhere. John Cena is crap on purpose. It's something I felt like I lived with quite a lot in the 2000s and 2010s. And I just didn't care, because I don't think, I saw that for what it was, and I wasn't passionate enough about the overall WWE picture to fight for it. And I thought it was an excuse then, but I just thought, but we're stuck with him regardless, and there's nothing I can do, and I can vote with my feet if I want, and I can watch TNA, or I can get into New Japan, or I can just accept that my investment in WWE is going to have to remain a certain degree passive, because that's just how this show is ran. And I don't like to think of it like that on those terms anymore. And I'd like not to think about it on those terms for as long as possible until it feels creative, like it is completely out of your hands. I'd rather think of it like a thing that I can touch and feel and believe in. And taking the strategy of that was crap on purpose is something I tend to not do, because, well, don't be crap at all. Like, Sola Sikoa is performing the role of idiot extremely well. that's quite different to being rubbish at something on purpose, you know?
I don't think it was rubbish. I just think it was like a lame version of it.
Which, like, almost like the sort of, like the kind of, like the centrist dad take on a firebrand's political view or something, which I would understand if the very things that Cena was calling out was that CM Punk has turned into the centrist dad. So, like, he wasn't trying to say, you're just like me. He was trying to say, you wish you were me. But then if Punk wishes he was him, then everything Cena's saying is flawed. Do you see my point?
Sort of.
Like, it is wrapped in this mixed messaging, barely coded. It wasn't coded. That was another annoying thing for me, is that so much of the pipe bomb, even though he was laying it all out on the line, Punk's one of like the great wrestling orators, right? John Cena used to be, but CM Punk is one of the all-time great wrestling orators and understood structure and tone and like the rhythm of the promo and things like that. John Cena exposed himself as being nowhere near that in this promo for me. Absolutely nowhere near. Did not register the rise and falls. Expected a couple of from the audience that didn't come. So expected the big gasp when he swore. Didn't get it and reacted to it anyway. That's that automaton John coming back to the front. There was the bit where he started hearing the cheers and he registered the cheers as far more of a, way, I'm the best, rather than being able to, even like he's done previously, do that like cheap heel thing of being like, and you idiots would chant my name anyway. You know, like that happened to CM Punk. Do you remember in the pipe bomb?
Mm-hmm.
And he says, like, and I can hear all of you cheering now, but like, where are you when I'm not on collector's cups, when I'm going through the airports and stuff like that? You're just a bigger part of the problem. Like, CM Punk stayed on message there. John Cena has never been that capable of performer to do just that. He understands a certain way to be John Cena and be the biggest star, maybe one of the biggest stars, well, not maybe, one of the biggest stars ever. He understands that. But so often, his grasp of the fundamentals is like nobody else's, and that can create something totally magic or something totally broken. And this, for me, was an example of it being totally broken. Like, me and Sid have talked about this at length on the Raw review and the Raw preview, and I really would encourage people to go and watch that so I don't end up just repeating the stuff that you've already listened to today and Nicholas has already had to sit through. But, like, there was so much of this that was such a castration of the CM Punk character in the same way that Punk's promos on Cena were in 2011. But that character in 2011 was there to be castrated for John Cena to either recover and win from or be proven to be a liar and a Philistine, and then we see where this goes. CM Punk is not in that position. CM Punk has been, with only maybe Cody Rhodes above him, the single biggest babyface since he returned to WWE in 2023. And it would be foolish at a minimum to castrate that babyface facade anyway, right? It would be really, really bad business to just pluck away at what makes that babyface so beloved. I know, and you know, and lots of people know that CM Punk has like iconoclastic qualities, but will ultimately work as is necessary. And we'll have truths for a bit and then move on to different truths. And it's the measure of the man and the warts and all this sort of stuff we said about CM. But that's what makes him so captivating, is that he can like, the courage of his convictions is his biggest strength and sometimes his biggest weakness, because then some come back to haunt him and then he gets new convictions and whatever. You cannot, to this audience, in my opinion, pull at those threads, because some of this audience has only just, relatively speaking, fallen in love with CM Punk. One never gets any reaction in the building. Clock Jack Perry, stupid Young Bucks, nothing. Like, I hate Drew McIntyre, I hate Seth Rollins. I'm coming for you, Cody Rhodes. Massive. Goosebumps. The biggest stuff, the biggest star, right? The fake stuff, the stuff that actually you're witnessing on television. And then all of a sudden, when there's already been two quite janky promos where they've talked around CM Punk's hypocrisy and CM Punk sell himself out, and without saying it, blood money, but that's what they're talking about, you know? And John Cena using Saudi Arabia and CM Punk using Night of Champions. You're sending people to go and read stuff. You're sending people to go and understand this and learn about this. And WWE, we're going over all ground here, continuing to use this as a storyline is utterly perplexing and narratively, for me anyway, maybe not yourself, extremely unsatisfying, because if they're going to flip the dynamics of the pipe bomb, there was a totally different way to do this that had nothing to do with Saudi Arabia. And if they'd have ran Money in the Bank right, instead, this is off the top of my dome, right, but if they'd have ran Money in the Bank instead, you could have had Cena call out a bunch of different things about CM Punk. Totally different things, and it would have felt entirely different. Now who's the New York Yankees? Now who came back for the big money contract? Now who said that he would never return in WWE and did? You know, there are enough things that don't even go near the stuff that John Cena touched here that you could go at, and you would still be able to do this little dynamic shift. And then what that would do is arm CM Punk with enough stuff to respond to. It's like, you know what? Maybe I did go down that route. But what about you, John? What about this that you did? And then you're in business, you know? Then you're sort of like, what about what happened with you in the Rocket Elimination Chamber? Why? Like, if you were everything you said you were, why this? Why now? And and then you're off to something, you know. And it's almost like you're back in 2011. It's like, you know what, John? I thought I was you. I thought I was the Yankees, because I do sit there with my big house in Chicago and my fat contract and my merch tickets and all of these people chanting my name. I thought I was you, but it turned out if I was going to be you, I would have to be the biggest scumbag in the world. And it's like, oh, here we go, right there. He will never be him. You will never be me. All that kind of stuff. This was just like, this was muck of avarice stuff. This is just like, all of this is gross. Like, if I'm supposed to buy John Cena as this gross villain who is ruining wrestling, and the guy that is so gross and ruining wrestling is telling me, you know who else is gross and ruining wrestling? That guy whose ass I've just kicked. Well, you're both gross. Like, all of this is gross, and you're reminding me that it's gross, and I'm going to watch on Saturday night because I too am a victim of sports washing, and I too am complicit, as we all are to a point, in just allowing this to happen. Now, sports washing works and the money works, and we did this a few weeks ago, and Sid said I can't sit here as a Newcastle United fan and support this, and I can't sit here as a WWE fan and take a bunch of high grounds when I continue to just support and watch WWE in spite of this deal. And like, listen to what I'm saying off the back of a John Cena CM Punk promo. It's in the sludge, it's in the mud. I don't want to think about any of this on these terms. And if you strip all that away, and if you try and view it as a wrestling promo, which this is where I'll draw a line, because a couple of debates I had with people over the weekend. Fair's fair, and you did. You thought it was a good promo, right? I didn't, but fair's fair. If you think that's a good promo, that's absolutely fine. The performance of it was so fake feeling to me and so disjointed. A worked shoot, and this is why Vince Russo got addicted to them, a worked shoot is such a cheat code, because it's like the ultimate opportunity to go out there and like get some freebie oohs and ahs and gasps, because you're colouring outside the lines, right? And that's why people like them, or people get to do them, and why when it goes too far, you know, hang on, I forgot where the lines are now. Like Vince Russo blew it wide open, but like every now and then a work shoot, and it was, oh, that's really exciting. The levels of difference between virtually every wrestling work shoot and the CM Punk pipe bomb are enormous, because Punk never lost sight of the work, never lost sight of what we're really doing here, you know? And the John Cena lines that got the gasps or the big responses, or the, oh, he just said Matt Cardona. And yes, as we debated, maybe that was devised because Punk has said, can we not do Colt Cabana, but here's these names that I used to lean on, why don't you say them? But in the context of this, just felt scattershot and felt like out of place. Again, Cena's response to the cheering of his own name, I think, was like dirty business, because the more you draw attention to the fact that you've pulled fans away from your company's, he did this before WrestleMania, your company's top babyface, the tippy top guy, the more damage this leaves when John Cena's gone.
You could say he's almost ruining wrestling.
Right. Okay. Yeah. What is it specifically he's ruining, right? Is he ruining, in fiction, is he ruining wrestling by playing a character that wants to take the title and making me root for Cody Rhodes to win it back? Or is he leaving in December? And then in January, it's like, oh, there's no hot baby faces anymore because Cena systematically ran through the kill. That's not me speaking about the fiction, is it? That's like, oh, X is less over than he was. So's Y and so's Z. And that pattern could continue.
Sami Zayn's going to do it. It's not a problem.
I mean, I hope John Cena doesn't feud with him, because we'll see what he can pick out with him as well. Like, it's, I just...
Did you prick? All right.
Well, what can I do? It's honestly like... Steve Austin, I've seen you backstage, and let me tell you, like, let me tell all these people, you don't actually drink 3/4 of them beers, and you call yourself the toughest man in the world, but those punches have worked. So you would never do it, right? You would never in a million years do it. Like, Rock, you got a personal script writer, and you revise your lines before you go out, so you're not quick, actually. Like, that completely pulls at the fabric of the work, right? And that's what this did, and this is before I've even got to, because I went long enough with Sidgwick, about how pathetic pathetic. CM Punk was booked to look lying there to that table for all the time.
I genuinely couldn't care less.
It was all I could look at. He was lying there, he's sleeping, for longer than your average TV match.
Unconscious, though.
Get some medics then, because the man's dead.
That's why the referee slid in. And sorry, 2.5 minutes long.
Yeah, you got 2.5 minutes left. Hell of a Slim Jim ad.
Yeah.
Hell of a Slim Jim ad.
Genuinely, I'm fascinated to know your thoughts on this. Do let us know them in the comments or on X at WhatCulture WWE. We'll no doubt talk about this in the coming weeks and months, probably. But for now, this has been the SmackDown review. Make sure you like, share, subscribe to WhatCulture Wrestling, wherever you get your podcasts from, for daily wrestling podcasts, of course. Raw Preview, as I mentioned, is available. We'll be back to review Collision a little bit later on today. You can follow all of us on X. You can follow Michael Hamflett at
Michael Hamflett.
You can follow our brilliant producer, Adam Nicholas, at
It's Adam Nicholas.
And you can follow me at Adam Wilbourn. But for now, this has been the SmackDown review, as I said, where we've talked about Naomi trying to cash in, Asuka qualifying for the Queen of the Ring final, Randy Orton versus Sami Zayn, Seth Rollins' faction, whatever they're bloody called, taking out LA Knight, and John Cena's pipe bomb.
The SmackDown review. It's got all this. Punker, please fix it on Raw.
We'll see you soon.